Hi, Sue Harper here from Sharper Creative, and we are continuing our series on how to help associations get traction as they move into 2021. Today, we're talking specifically about how focus groups work, and I'll let my guest introduce herself, and off we go.
Thanks, Susan. Again, I'm Jen Reiner with Align, and we're a service design organization, and we help organizations improve their customer experience by starting with customer insights. And so to follow on our last conversation, we really encourage folks, member organizations, to use focus groups and interviews as an opportunity to understand what their members really think and what they need. So let me tell you a little bit more about how a focus group works. These don't have to be complicated. I mean, focus groups can start with just 5 to 6 people. Sometimes they're larger. They can be up to 20 in small groups. You want a focus group to be interactive. It's not a presentation, and you're not making a pitch. This is a discovery effort, so you're there to listen. The most important thing about a focus group is who you include. You want to include, because who you pull in is going to obviously dictate the kind of information and the quality and accuracy of the information. So one of the biggest challenges is figuring out who's your target audience. So you want to focus on current members, but you definitely need to perhaps have a separate focus group for lapsed members. That one's going to be a little tough because they're going to be a little bit resistant to telling you the truth about why they didn't renew. And in another ideal scenario, you would pull together a group of prospective members or people who are not members at all, not even considering it. Other focus groups I've organized have been specifically around young professionals because a lot of organizations recognize the need to understand what the new upcoming generation of young professionals think. So who you include is super important. And when you can keep your group somewhat homogeneous in terms of work experience or profile. Of course, you want diversity in terms of perspective and experience, but you also kind of want to keep apples to apples together because then you can get into deeper conversations. So like I said, current members, kind of keep them together, maybe young professionals, keep them together, because then you can get deeper and more meaningful themes in those kinds of groups. I can talk a little bit more about the way to moderate a focus group.
Yeah, and the way it kind of works, do you do it on the phone? Do you do it on a Zoom call? Like, how would you get all those people
Okay.
together?
So in the COVID era, we are focusing on virtual focus groups, and I've done virtual focus groups well before the last 9 months because it's disarming to folks. It's super convenient. It's easy to record. It costs a lot less for the organization because there's no. You don't have to rent a site. You don't have to pay stipends often. So anyway, super convenient, less costly. Folks on the other end like it as well.
Right. So they could get off the ground a lot quicker too. Right.
Yeah. With just a small group of 6 to 10 people in a Zoom. Right. So then you would think a little bit about the kinds of questions that you want to ask. And you want to have sort of 2 buckets of questions. You want to have some simple, open-ended questions to get the conversation rolling. And I love questions like, what's hard about? What's hard about your job these days? What's hard about running your company or running your department?
Because like you said last time, you want to get a dialogue going.
Yes. The key thing is that you want to understand why people feel a certain way. And that's the purpose of doing a focus group, not just getting quantitative data like yes, no answers. You want I often say, tell me more about that. Elaborate on that, please, so that I can be listening to them. So you get some open-ended questions, and then you have some questions around things that you think you know the answer to. And so you try to cue that up and get below the surface. What's behind? What's the root cause to some of those things? This is where the gold is. This is where the really interesting information and nuggets of insight, things that people took for granted and maybe just never bubbled to the surface before.
Or things that people think they already know. Wouldn't association leaders sort of know what their membership wants or doesn't want? It's not always quite that obvious though, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the complaints are top of mind and kind of have a sense of what people want, but things are changing. And, as humans, sometimes we take things for granted, we settle, and we just kind of go with the flow because we like the easy path when we can. We've got a lot going on. So when you start to unpeel the layers of why, tell me why that's important, tell me what you're really trying to accomplish here, then you get to some things that's where the disruption can be, when you can uncover some of those other things. And that's what the dialogue and the difference between focus groups and interviews. Of course, focus group is a group and then they can feed off of each other. And it's kind of like improv where they're building and they're adding, or, there's more energy. You want to do interviews when you think there might be really sensitive information that people wouldn't want to share publicly.
Right.
When somebody needs to be a little bit more vulnerable, or when you really don't know what you're going to get, that's a better time to do an interview.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
So I think we were going to give a little preview of something we were going to cover next time. We've got some stories that we can share about some of the surprising insights from our focus groups and interviews with association members. And like Susan said, of course, we have some assumptions and some ideas about what people need, what our members want, what's important. But I promise there's always a surprise. There's always something that was overlooked or didn't realize that was as big a deal as it is. And so we'll share some of that next time.
Great. All right. Well, that is such great information. And come back really soon for our next installment and see how maybe you can get a focus group going for your association.
That sounds great. Thanks, Susan.
Thanks. Well, I hope you found that useful and informative. If you did, why don't you go ahead and give us a thumbs up? And you could even subscribe. We'll see where this channel goes. But more importantly, stay tuned for more informative videos for associations coming up soon. Take care. Bye-bye.